Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another great REDX podcast where we're bringing the best experts across the nation to help you in your real estate business. And today, I'm super excited because we don't just have a real estate expert, but we have a social media expert with us. And Connor Snyder, we're so happy he's here. He is head of product here at REDX. He's also co-founder of a social media company. I'm going to let him talk a little bit about that. So we've got like this dual two-headed monster ready to give us all the expert information on how to use social media in real estate. Connor, again, thanks for being here. Say hi to all of our audience members that are just waiting to hear from you.
Wow. Thanks for that introduction, Robert. I'm feeling all like pumped up from all the nice words. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm grateful to be able to come on the podcast. And hopefully, if you're a real estate agent and you're trying to figure out how do I find success on social media, this conversation that Robert and I are going to have is going to hopefully give you some things that you can take and apply today to really make a difference in what you're doing online.
And we are so excited for that. And we're going to jump right into it. Before we get into it, just the housekeeping items. As always, everyone tuning in, this is a participatory event. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, let us know in the comments. Tell us where you're from, and I'll give you a shout out. We'll reach out to you and try to get answers to all the questions you have today. Also, if this is the first time you're tuning in or the 10th time you're tuning in, make sure that you subscribe to our podcast and podcast newsletter so that you know when our next episodes are coming up every Thursday at the same time. And you can do that at theredx.com/podcast. And we'd love to have you there and add you to our list and get you more information every week. But Connor, let's get started. First, why don't you tell everybody, because I know you real well. I love working with you, Connor, but if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll jump into how to use social media.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I really got started with social media the same way I think most people use social media. Like I just got on Facebook because that's where all my friends were, right? And I feel like I remember, I'd be on Facebook when I was in high school, and I'd spend hours on there, right? Like that's where all my friends were posting stuff and talking with each other when we were out of class. And I remember like my parents would be like, dude, you're wasting so much time on social media. Like get off the computer. You're never going to get a job or build a skill by spending this much time on Facebook. And lo and behold, I've, started with a partner of mine, a company called Story. And what we do is help people build a personal brand online through social media. And, I've had experience where in many different industries and many different aspects of social media. I've done everything from manage large ad campaigns. I've worked with mortgage loan officers and real estate agents to build a social media presence online. I've helped people generate leads through traditional ad targeting, but also help people fully utilize the power of social media in a way that's not just about how do I, spend $100 and get a couple of leads back. It's how do I invest in my presence online to build a relationship, right? And so, one of the things that has been very common and apparent throughout all of my experience in social media is that it's very easy to forget this is about people, right? And there's not really a secret sauce. It's more important that we just understand and think about it the right way. So that's what I really enjoy doing and love talking about is how to help people understand how do I use all these cool tools on social media and not get lost in the cool like features, but have like a really consistent strategy that I can commit to and get real long-term results from.
That's awesome. I think you speak to everybody when you're like, hey, this is how I got involved and why I started down this path. I mean, the whole reason we have you here on the show and that we want to talk about this is we get questions about social media all the time. Everybody knows how to use it. They're scrolling, they're looking at their different Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it is, they're on it all the time. And they know that they should be doing more, but they're like, how do I start to build a business on there? And they start to have all these questions. Now, you've been doing it so much longer than me. So what are some of the top questions that you've seen over and over again as people come to you as the expert that they say, I know I should be doing more? And then what are the first questions they're asking you that you're getting all the time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that you called that out, Robert, of like, that's how most people get into social media is like, we just use it ourselves. And we all know how much time we spend on social media. And so we know, man, it would be really valuable if I was here and in front of people. But the first question then is like, how do I actually do that? And it's funny because I think a lot of times what people aren't actually asking is like, how do I like make a post? Like, you're not wondering what buttons to press, right? What you're actually wondering is, what type of content should I create, right? And it's really interesting because a real estate agents in particular, right? There's a lot of real estate agents just like live and die real estate, right? From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, it's like, I'm going to find some business, right? And social media is this interesting place where most people aren't going on social media to find a real estate agent, right? They're going on, right?
What?
Who would have thought? and so there's kind of two approaches, right? Like approach number one is, I'm going to go and hire a company or some guy in my neighborhood or learn how to do this myself. I'm going to build an ad campaign, right? And this is a strategy that works for some people, right? And I actually worked as a marketing manager at a mortgage company a while ago, and we had hundreds of loan officers in this ad program that we had. And loan officers aren't exactly the same as real estate agents, but it's very similar, where it's like everyone's trying to get leads around this housing transaction. And what's interesting is you can pay and you can get leads on social media. It's about getting quality leads, qualified leads. That's the thing that's tough. And so when we would go and look at these ad campaigns and try to figure out like, why are these leads not converting at the rate that we want? One of the common things that we found was that these leads didn't know, like, and trust these loan officers, right? Like they see the ad and maybe the ad is something like, down payment assistance available, right? Or maybe the ad is like, this is a nice, big, beautiful house, but they still don't have any reason to go to you, the real estate agent, the loan officer, the professional, and actually do business with you. And so it's so essential that you start from this place, regardless if you're going to do paid ads or if you're going to kind of focus on strategy. I'm sure we're going to get into later, is like, you've got to focus first on, what is my content going to be about? And how do I get people to know, like, and trust me on social media?
I like that. Know, like, and trust. I love the direction that we're going. And maybe I think you've kind of already talked about it, but I'd love just a little bit more, because you're kind of talking about two different uses of social media, maybe that again, I think we jump to, because we're scrolling and we know how to keep in contact with mom and dad, with the kids across the country, whatever it is, on social media. And then we also know there's this business side of social media where I can pay for ads and leads. Mm-hmm. But you're kind of talking something different of maybe somewhere in the middle there. Mm-hmm. You could pay for leads, but this know, like, and trust part of social media. So maybe tell us a little bit more about the difference there, or how we start to do that.
Great question. So if you want someone to know, like, and trust you, right? Like it helps if we like take a step back and we ignore the social media part of this, right? If we just think about this in real life, normal day to day, how do you get someone to know, like, and trust you, right? And so there's a couple of really important fundamental principles here, right? People, first off, like, to know you, have to know things about you, right? And people, every single person is more complicated than just the one thing they do for a profession, right? So getting them to know who you are means you've got to help people see all the different parts of you. And if I'm an agent, even if I'm living, breathing, and dying real estate, when I go meet someone in person, we're going to talk about, hey, did you see that game? Tell me about your family. Have you been to this restaurant? Like, we're going to talk about stuff that is part of our normal lives, because that's what we do as human beings. And the big mistake that a lot of agents make online is they make a Facebook page and all they do is go and reshare stock infographics about the real estate market. And while that information is really valuable, while that content is good content, it's a matter of proportions, right? In the same way, if you met someone in person and immediately started talking stats and facts, and that would be a little bit off-putting, you got to like give people like a broader context of who you are, right? Like, that's the whole know, like, and trust factor.
I'm thinking of just my social media feed, right? And I know who's going to post political posts that I'm probably going to ignore.
Right.
And I know, and so if there's realtors in my life, I know that maybe they're just going to show me the next home for sale. And so you're saying this know, like, and trust is sharing actual personal information about yourself while also sharing the realtor side of yourself, or what? What do you say there?
Yeah, it's a matter of balance and ratios. I think a really good way to think about it is this. Let's say you heard this song on the radio and it's awesome. You love it. It's the first time you've heard it and you're like, this is great. This is amazing. And then you go to the mall and you hear it playing in the mall. And then the next time you're driving in your car, you hear the song again, right? And then you go out to eat and then you hear the song again. It's like you like the song, but you hear it so many times, eventually you just tune it out. Like someone can say to you, hey, have you heard the song before? And you got to like stop and listen because your brain has heard it so many times, it's just white noise, right? And as a real estate agent, you can start to become white noise on social media for people. If all you do is talk about real estate, people see, oh, like John Doe or Jane Doe, the real estate agent, I know what they're going to talk about. It's always real estate, and move along. And so you got to figure out, how do you be a good DJ, a responsible DJ for the radio station that is your social media feed, and keep like a good mix of the kinds of things you talk about. And so that's one of the things that we're doing with Story, the company that I co-founded that's working with REDX, is we help people understand and get that balance of what are the things that I should be talking about to maintain the right balance of my relationships online.
I feel like you could moonlight as a DJ as well. Like it seems like you know what you're talking about.
I mean, when I do stuff like this, it looks like I'm mixing records. So
no, I love that. I love the idea of that, of because we've all experienced that. And so we know what it is, how our brains start tuning out noise. And so we want to treat our online reputation the same way, where we don't want people to be able to just quickly say, hey, I know what they're going to say and move on, but be a real, I kind of what you're saying, I think, is be a real person. Like have music interests, talk about real estate, talk about your family, like, and maybe that's where we go next a little bit, because I love this information that you're giving us, but maybe you have a couple tips of now how to. So
let's get tactical.
So what do I do now? I know, okay, I'm going to use probably my personal page because I want to be a real person. What kind of content or what are the best things that I can be doing to not get caught up in the noise, not get tuned out, and build my reputation online?
Great questions. Okay, so first, there's a couple of like technical things, like setup stuff, right? This is the stuff where it's like it's maybe going to sound a little nerdy, but this is where you're going to want to take some notes about what you should go and do to get your stuff set up right. So first, where are you going to post your content to? Are you going to post it to a Facebook page? Are you going to post it to a personal profile? One of the things that as an agent you got to understand is that while you might have more direct connections to your personal profile, things like stats, things like analytics, things like the possibility to run ads, including targeting ads to leads that you're buying from REDX or people in your current database, are only functionality you can have if you post to a page. And so I recommend to every single real estate agent, post content to your page. And here's the great thing. You can take that same content and share it to your personal profile. So that way everyone in that network sees it. One of the things that I would suggest that real estate agents do is, instead of calling your page like the local real estate guy, the local real estate expert, change your page titles to just be your name. If I'm in the feed looking at content, the content from a page versus the content from a personal profile isn't going to be presented any differently. And so if you just name your page your personal name and share content from there, I, in my feed, will never know that it's a page or a profile. I'm just going to see, John Doe or Jane Doe, the real estate agent. It looks the same to me. And so that's what I would suggest in terms of where to post content. Post it on a page, but just call the page your name. Another piece of advice that I would give in terms of posting is make sure you're posting to Instagram. It's essential, right? And I know a lot of real estate agents that really like Facebook. That's their social media platform of choice. It's where they spend a lot of time. But as millennials become the main kind of audience for home buying, and Instagram is the millennial social media platform, you need to make sure you have a presence there. And one of the things that we talked about before was like, I'm a real estate agent. I'm going to share a lot of infographics and stats, kind of stock content. It's a common hole that agents fall in because it's so easy to just do and forget about it. But this is about being effective on social media, right? Not being, not doing the things that require the least effort. It's about doing the things that are the most effective. And REDX agents know this. Prospecting is hard work, but prospecting drives results in your business, right? And in the same way, effective social media is work. It is prospecting, right? But it's how you drive effective results for your business. And so you've got to start to get comfortable with the video. That's what work on social media looks like. If I'm prospecting and cold calling and working leads, dialing is what work looks like. On social media and online lead generation, making video content that's personal is the work, right? And this is the way you're going to stand out and beat every other agent, right? Most agents are going to be doing that same old stock template stuff that the other agent saw and someone already saw on someone else's feed, but no one can replace you, right? No one can be the exact same as you. And if you want someone to know, like, and trust you, they've got to see your face and they've got to hear your voice. Stock content is never going to be the thing that drives it. And so you've got to learn to be really comfortable on video and understand, what am I going to talk about on video? How am I going to frame this shot? And you don't need a nice camera. You don't need this big professional setup. The only thing you need is this. The most useful camera, the best camera you have, is the one that's closest to you, right? And so that would be my, a main tip that I would say agents should think about is make video content.
So I'm going to break down a couple of things you said, because I think you gave a lot of good advice. So one was to have a page, not just a personal page, but and to have it be your name, that your name is your brand, because you want people to know, like, and trust you.
That's right. Yeah.
Second, and this one, I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but you're suggesting, at least to get started, that Facebook and Instagram are the best places.
That's right. Yeah. Like, if I'm a real estate agent and I'm wondering where is the most valuable place to spend my time with social media, Facebook and Instagram are the places I'm going every single time. They have the biggest user base. They have the user base that is most likely to buy a home. And it's the places where it's going to be the easiest for you to create really effective content with just your cell phone.
Okay, I like that. And then that's the next one, is you're saying the most effective content is video, and that you can do that just with your phone. So the video, so they see my face, because that's the brand I'm building, is to know, like, and trust me. I don't have to have the big fancy, hey, I'm your friendly neighborhood realtor as my title. I want them to know, like, and trust me. So now we're ready to do a transaction, they know where to come, because they've gotten to know me through social media. So now maybe, and if you've got a couple other things, let us know too. But I'm just wondering if next you could take us on a couple tips on what do I put in those videos then? So, okay, I've got a phone, I'm on Facebook, I've made a page. You said I should do video. What kinds of content should I be putting in my video?
Great question. So we talked about know, like, and trust earlier, right? And video is the way that people get to know, like, and trust you. And so it's not just a matter, obviously seeing your face, like I said, hearing your voice is important. What's actually coming out of your mouth when they hear your voice is kind of essential now, right? And one of the things that I've heard from real estate agents a lot of the time, and I'm sure there's people listening that are going to relate to this, is I hate being on camera. Like, as soon as someone starts recording a video, I start to freeze up and I'm not sure what to say. And I've actually found a lot of times when I talk to real estate agents, they know they should be making video content. Like, they've heard this at a conference. They've heard a coach they talk about making video for social media. But it's so intimidating to just pick up a camera and start recording. You might even feel a little bit like, am I being egotistical? Like, what do I actually have to say that's going to be impactful to anybody? And what you've got to understand is just you being you means you're going to have a set of experiences and perspective that no one else has. And that by creating that content, there's going to be other people that relate to your specific lens of seeing the world that will want to engage with your content, right? Like, there's people that spend all day watching cat videos, right? And it's just cats, right? There's Harry Potter fan club random groups that are going to go deep comparing all of the wands of Harry Potter. Like, there's a group for everybody and a conversation for everybody to contribute to. So what you've got to do is, one, get over your fear of video, but two, figure out, what are you going to talk about? Like, where are the places that you're going to build commonality and trust with people? Like, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And we build that know, like, and trust from common shared interests and experiences. And so what we coach people to do is we say, we're going to help you build what's called a topic wheel. So imagine your face right in the middle, and your face is kind of like the hub of a wheel. And that hub is your why. It's why you do what you do. It's why you get up out of bed in the morning. It's all about, what do you really truly want out of life? And then connected to that is a kind of a wheel of topics. What are the things that make you you, right? So I think about my own topic wheel, right? One of my topics is social media marketing. I can talk about social media marketing all day long. I love social media. Another one of my topics is going to be technology. Like, I love tech. I love product development. I love innovation. I like talking about that. Another one of mine, hiking. I like getting outside. I like going on hikes. I like being out in nature. I can tell you about all my favorite hikes around where I live. And, what's important to note right here is that's not a business topic.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the trap that real estate agents will fall into, is they're like, I want business and I need business right now. But relationships are built over time. People don't know, like, and trust you, especially trust you from one interaction. You've got to build that credibility. And so you've got to recognize that you've got to talk about things that aren't directly related to real estate and develop that trust. So that way, when it comes time for someone in your network, in your audience, in your group of leads that you're targeting to actually go and buy a house, they've seen enough about you holistically as a person to say, hey, I like hiking too. I like technology too. And this guy's a real estate agent. This is the kind of real estate agent that's going to get me. He's going to know how I think of things. He's going to know about the kind of environment I want to be in. He's someone that I could have a conversation with. He's someone I know, like, and trust. I'm going to reach out to him, and he's going to help me sell my home.
I think that what you're saying makes sense to everybody, but I think it's also really difficult, right? Because I think, like you said, there's this trap of, hey, I'm creating this video, investing this time to get business. And so every time I'm not talking about business, am I missing an opportunity or wasting time? But you're saying you need to spread the love around and get people to know the whole you, so that when they have a decision to make on which real estate agent, which neighbor, or which friend, which relative they want to be their real estate agent, they know enough about you. Maybe even you're doing a call off a lead and they're like, oh, I know you like to hike. I've seen you on Facebook, right? So you got to resist that temptation of like business to allow people to get to know you. That's the story you're telling right now.
That's exactly what I'm saying, and one of the ways that we talk about this is it's about building a reputation, right? Like, you want to have a reputation for things like, hiking, things that people are going to find commonality in. And again, your point of like having an even spread of what's business and what's personal, so people know, like, and trust you, is essential. But I also don't want to underplay how important the business content you post is, right? Because the difference between me posting an infographic or a stats image that I grabbed off another website versus me creating a video about someone's home that was having a hard time selling, and then I came in, did A, B, C, D, and helped them actually sell their home, gives me so much credibility to the people that do need that right now, so that they are going to come to me because they heard it from my mouth and my lips, the exact things that I did to sell a home. That wasn't just some sort of, unrelatable piece of content in a, endless scroll. This was another human being talking about how they solved a problem that I'm also facing. And that requires you, again, to be not afraid to get on the camera, understand that I'm a real estate agent, and one of my topics is selling expired homes, and then creating content that's going to resonate with people that have that need.
And maybe you have an idea, maybe it's different for everybody, but so I've got this topic, Will. I want people to know the whole me, but I would need them to also know that I'm a realtor and that I've had success. So do you have a mix of like how often I should post one or the other, and then take a step back to how often I should be posting, period? Do you have suggestions there for everybody?
Yeah, I do. So great question. You've got to understand kind of how the algorithms work on social media to understand why you should be posting at a high frequency, right? So each of the social media platforms, they don't necessarily tell you exactly how their algorithms work, but there's a couple of guiding principles that we need to keep in mind. The social media platforms, they make money by people spending more time on their feeds to see ads, right? So the longer I sit on Facebook, the longer I sit on Instagram, that means that Facebook and Instagram make more money. So what I have to remember is Facebook and Instagram are going to try and show people content that is the most relevant and most interesting to them. So that way they stay on the platform. So that means you've got to make content frequently, right? Facebook wants new content. People want to see new content. They don't want to see content from a year ago, right? They want to see content from what's going on right now. And so making regular and consistent video is going to help you make sure that your content is staying in the feed frequently. So you're kind of asked that question, like, how often should I be posting? I think at a minimum, once a week. And that is minimum. And I think anything less than that is bad. And once a week is not best practices. It'll at least keep you fresh in the feed, but you need to make sure that you're posting more frequently. And one of the reasons posting more frequently is so essential is you're trying to teach Facebook and Instagram that you are someone that's going to consistently make content, and they're going to then recommend your content to people more often. Part of the power of the topic we were talking about was if I consistently make content around specific topics, I'm actually going to have the algorithms on these social media platforms recommend my content to people who are also interested in that topic. So an example would be, I like hiking. I make a video about hiking. And now I'm teaching Instagram that if, hey, this person's looking up hiking videos, to show those people my video content, because I'm someone that talks about hiking all the time. And now if I decide one day I'm going to post a real estate video, those people that watch my content for hiking are still going to see that video because they just see my content more often, right? But maybe one of those people are now in the market to sell a home. Now I have a personal know, like, and trust relationship with them that can actually be converted. So you want to be posting frequently and posting frequently around consistent topics. So that way the algorithms place you in the feeds of your audience more frequently.
Love it. And I see, I mean, obviously the theme has been know, like, and trust, because that's, and it's so different than a lot of the other social media conversations I've had, that we've had here, that we've had on other shows and webinars, in that a lot of times it talked about your, how much money you're going to spend, and what that ad should look like, and how you're going to get the lead. But this is a totally different approach of know, like, and trust, using social media, using video to build your own personal brand, so they're ready to talk to you when the time is right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's refreshing. It's new. It's not the direction we've gone. In fact, when you're just talking about frequency and consistency, like an ad, even if it's like an awesome video that I make, it will be the same one every time it shows up in someone's feed. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm going to take your advice, I might show up on that same person's feed the same amount of times, but have new content every time they see me. So that's the difference I was hearing you say in that strategy.
Yeah. And I think it's a really important point to call out, because, if I go and especially if I go pay a third party to go and build me a whole ad campaign, very often they'll choose one kind of stock campaign. They probably use it for other agents too. And then they aren't going to change that creative, right? And so if the images doesn't change, if the text doesn't change, it gets that white noise effect, right? The song that we've heard a million times before, and people start to just scroll past and tune it out. And these strategies aren't mutually exclusive, right? If I have a great content and I have people coming to me organic leads through my content, and then I decide I want to go and turn those into ads and run ads, those ads are only going to be more effective because I've created content that helps people know, like, and trust me, right? And so I think that like, this is a different strategy. It's a very effective different take. And it's also something that if you're doing the paid ad strategy, if you like doing that on social media, only amplifies the success of that effort.
And like you said, it's not an either or. It's not either. So this is a refreshing way to do it, and you don't have to choose one or the other. You can do both. Well, Connor, we're running out of time a little bit. I wanted to tell everybody what you're doing next week here at REDX, so that they know about it. So we get to hear from the president of REDX, Curtis Fenn, and Connor will be back to talk about how his company that he's co-founded with a lot of these same strategies can be used with and some special offerings with REDX. And so they'll be having a webinar. Well, they'll be going much more in depth about several of the things we talked about today, but even more very strategic ways of using social media and how to build that reputation and ways that Connor and REDX can help you. We'll share that registration link with everybody that's tuning in. You can click there and join us next week, Thursday at 11 o'clock. Is that right, Connor?
That's right.
Next Thursday at 11. So you can watch them, learn everything about them, then come back and hear another great episode of the REDX podcast at 1. Connor, before we wrap up, is there any last piece of advice or wrap up that you wanted to share with the audience before we go?
Yeah. We all have gotten a lot more used to video calling and meeting and talking and working with each other online over the last couple of years. And I think that don't get too caught in the weeds of the technicalities of the social media algorithms and the targeting this or that. The fundamental principle I think all of us can understand is we want people to see our face and our voice so they can know, like, and trust us. And if we make video content on social media, we're going to build a reputation that's going to help us bring more business and expand our sphere of influence that will help our real estate business grow. And that's the real point of what we're talking about here is build your brand online, build your reputation online, make video content, be consistent, and you're going to find the success that you're looking for.
Connor, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today and just great advice that anyone could start using right now. We really appreciate you taking that time to do that. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today and those that have downloaded and are listening to us. Listen to the REDX podcast wherever you find your favorite podcast. Sign up to know about our upcoming episodes at theredx.com/podcast. And we weren't able to get to questions, so if you want to continue this conversation, you can find us on social media as well, or we'll answer your questions there. And we are just getting going with one of our brand new groups where it is the Lead Gen Conversation. You can find us on Facebook to continue that conversation. Thank you again so much for being here, Connor, and everyone else for joining us. And we'll see you next week on the REDX podcast.
Thanks, Robert.